It is time to talk with BYU team captain Connor Pay for his weekly visit here on the podcast. He got flagged a couple of times for holding, so I'm sure he's a little surly about the calls made against him against Wyoming. What will he use? Will he parlay that into a standout performance against Kansas State at LaVell Edwards Stadium on Saturday night? Well, we're going to ask him about that and a whole lot more. It's all ahead right here on Locked On Cougars.
You are Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast on the BYU Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jake Hatch, your host here on Locked On Cougars, your resident BYU insider. Thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first view and or listen of the day. Appreciate all of you who like to call everydayers right here on your original daily podcast focused on the BYU Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege, and get $20 off your first purchase. All right, please welcome in now once again for his weekly visit on the show, BYU team captain Connor Pay. Connor, you got flagged a couple of times for holding. We saw you get after some of the officials in that game. Did you try and by the way, we saw one of those flags get picked up later on in the contest. What did you say to make that ref think, you know what? I'm not throwing that flag. I'm taking that penalty right off the board right now.
Well, the second one was BS just because, I didn't even grab onto the guy. He caught me by the V of the neck, and, Waylon had a good snap on him, and he was going to the ground, and so he just pulled me down with him. And so I turn around to the official, and he's like, "You held him." I was like, "Hey, man, he grabbed me by the V of my neck. I didn't even have hands on him." And then him and the other guy talked to him for a little bit. I was like, "Did he pull him down?" And funny enough, I was so mad from the holding call to play before, I had no idea they picked up that flag. So I thought I was just fuming the whole time. I wasn't listening, didn't realize where the ball was. So I was just mad at that ref. I thought I had 2 holding calls. And so I was talking crap to him the rest of the game about that. And I had no idea that he even picked that flag up. So after I went back and watched it on TV when I got home, I realized nope, they waved that flag off, and I was like, oh, they waved it off. I was like, oh no.
Well, you could send him a nice letter and say, "Hey, I apologize for being a you-know-what."
No, he's a Mountain West ref. I couldn't care less.
If it was,
I think the last time I had I don't know if this is true, but I feel like the last time I had a holding call was 2022 against Wyoming. And Miles had a touchdown run, and I got called for another BS holding. I bet those were Mountain West officials too.
No love for the MWC refs. I think you and Cougar Nation are aligned in that. There's no doubt about that.
Well, no, the first one, I'll give it to him. The first one was borderline.
Okay.
I had my hands. He was just such a small person. That linebacker is hard for me to get my hands inside.
Well, they say
no. I just missed with my hands. It was bad hand placement, and so I thought I let him go in time, and that's what I was trying to bargain to the ref. Hey, I know I caught him on the outside. I felt it, so I let him go. Okay. I was trying to barter my way out of that one, but that was a toss up, so I wasn't surprised by that one.
So the long and short of it, you intimidated that ref into picking that other flag up. We got it. Okay. All right. Now, obviously, a big win over Wyoming pushes you guys to 3-0. What's the feeling around the program as you finish the non-conference slate undefeated, and you're halfway to bowl eligibility, just like you were last year when it came out of the non-conference play?
Good. Now we feel good. Never can be mad about 3-0, And obviously, there's a lot of things we felt like we could have done better on offense in this last game. You felt like that. We felt like that every week, where it's oh man, we fixed a few things here, and that's a 40 or 50 point, game instead of 34. We kind of killed ourselves with penalties, had opportunities to score a few times and had one touchdown run for sure called back by a holding and another opportunity too. And, I think that holding call on Chase was probably the worst one of the game, but that happens. It's a part of the game. And, there's always things you feel like you can fix, but I mean, and I don't necessarily like the comparison to being 3-0 last year, because I think the way we're winning is very different than it was last year. Even just statistically, and And just the way the guys are handling each week and the way we're practicing, the way things, I think a lot has changed and a lot's been improved, and we have to continue to improve week to week, because obviously there are things in that game where it's like, okay, we have to get better at that, if we're going to have a chance to, go up and play well against Kansas State. We got to be able to run the ball downhill a little more consistently. Wish we would have gotten a few more handoffs there in the first half, but the RPO game was open and Jake was taking chances, and you can't be mad, about, man, we blocked up this run play so well, and then a 15-yard fade ball to Chase. And it's all right. Well, I'm not going to be angry about a 15-yard gain as much as I want to hand the ball off. And then it just happens to be, well, man, they called a good blitz on this, or we missed a block here. That just happens to be the one that we decided to hand the ball off, but I think late in the game, we're able to get the downhill run game going a little better, than we did in the first half for sure. But again, on paper, you look at it and it's, we averaged almost 5 yards a carry, and so it's same deal, you can't be, obviously there's a ton of stuff that we feel like we have to fix, up front, and things we could have done better. But at the same time, it's kind of like, okay, you know what? Like, hey, I know we feel like we didn't play our best, but at the same time, like, look, 5 yards per carry, 34 points. We moved the ball up and down the field. There's a lot of positives to take from it too.
Now, your head coach was not very happy about a question posed to him about the comparison to the 3-0 record a season ago to the 3-0 record this year, and he kind of challenged the question, saying, "Well, if you guys don't think we're that good, that's your opinion." Is that kind of your opinion too? It's like don't compare those two, because they're two very different circumstances.
Yeah, they're entirely different seasons, entirely different teams. And so I think it's I mean, I wouldn't say it's unfair to draw the comparison, because obviously it's not, but I think it's just misleading a little bit to because, there's so much has changed between that season and this season that it's, in my mind at least, it's kind of hard to compare. And I think, a lot of that stuff is showing up on film. We're outgaining teams by a lot of yards right now, and that was not the case last year. We're able to find a lot of positives on offense after every game, even though there's a lot of things we feel like we need to fix. It was very difficult to find positives after those 3 games last year. It was hard.
Okay.
And so it's, yeah, I think they're just very, very different circumstances.
Now I'm going to ask you a question. You kind of talked about a little bit about how you guys wanted to improve on the offensive line. We'll do that as part of our conversation. Kind of want to morph it more into the bigger picture as you guys get ready for Big 12 play, and we'll get into that momentarily as we roll on right here on Locked On Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Now, FanDuel is here for you guys, no matter what you need when it comes to your sports betting need, because they are, of course, as I like to say, America's #1 sports book. They have a really easy-to-use app. You can seemingly bet on anything under the sun that you have interest in with our friends at FanDuel. They got a unique offer, though, and it only runs through the end of this week. Now through September 22nd, that's this weekend, everybody. All FanDuel customers can bet just $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game with our friends over at YouTube via FanDuel. All you need is a Google account with a current form of payment, and then of course you can cancel at any time as well. Visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook and take advantage of this offer today. That's FanDuel.com. You can learn more there right now. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Now, no matter what you're into events-wise, theater, comedy, sporting events, music, no matter what you want to go to, Game Time has got the options for you guys as well. They have a really new, cool feature that's part of their app. It's called the Game Time Picks app, which makes getting your tickets for your favorite live events even easier. It filters out all the fluff to show only the incredible deals on great seats. So you're having to kind of hunt yourself to find the right offer and the right deal for you. They also have incredible features inside the app, like the all-in pricing feature. You toggle it, you know exactly what you're paying right up front. You also have seat views. Get a panoramic view of what you'll expect to see when you get to the event, and also the lowest price guarantee or game time will credit you 100%, 110%, excuse me, of the difference of the price of tickets. So it's an incredible feature, and you can download the Game Time app today. While you're there, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first view or listen of the day. If you have not done so already, check out the Locked On College Football podcast. Get caught up on all of the goings on in college football. I was on the show earlier this week talking about BYU and Kansas State. It is available wherever you get your podcasts, also available on YouTube. And of course, it's proud to be part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, rolling along here with BYU team captain Connor Pay. Now, Connor, I wanted to ask you a question about your performance along the offensive line. You know that I am an amateur film guy by trade because I just don't study it nearly as much as you guys do. You mentioned the fact you guys averaged 5 yards per carry, had 140 yards on the ground. From my vantage point, though, I actually thought it might have been the worst of the three performances run blocking wise for you guys along the offensive line. Am I dead wrong? Please tell me.
Yeah, ironically, with obviously there were maybe 4 or 5 plays where we either had an MA or just bad technique or something like that. But outside of that, there was the hard part with it is there was probably almost a dozen run plays that were blocked up very well that were thrown. And that's part of the game. That's part of the game, And so like as if you look at the whole picture, that was I mean, honestly, Coach Woods came in and said, "Hey, look, we obviously know there's a lot of things that we need to fix," but he felt like that was our best game of the year so far as a complete unit.
See,
as a complete unit, and so
I told you I'm an amateur, man. So I'm wrong about
that.
No,
it's hard. It's impossible for you to know something like that, right? Where it's like, obviously there was a couple plays. I gave up a TFL on one, where the nose just got a really good jump on the snap count.
Yeah.
And I didn't get my hat across, and that ended up being a TFL. And, there was a couple plays also where just overran some linebackers. And so they were able to shoot the gap. And, obviously that's stuff we have to address and fix. And trust me, Coach Woods doesn't he doesn't skim over those things. I'll put it that way. But he's not that type of coach.
Well, so maybe it's more of it. Maybe some of those bigger plays, like the more glaring issues, were maybe what stood out more to me on my side.
Right, and that's what's gonna stick out to everybody. How on earth are you supposed to know that ball could be handed off or thrown?
Got it. Okay,
it just looks like play action to everybody else, and so it's impossible for people to know that. So obviously we're aware of the challenges and the issues, but one thing Coach Woods did say that he was proud of was like, "Hey, I feel like you guys have improved every week." And now it's like, hey, now we have a new challenge in Kansas State. Here's the areas that we struggled with in the game. Those are the areas we got to improve this week. And let's go have a great week of practice, address those things specifically to put ourselves in the best position to to go and put it on Kansas State.
Now, I'm going to get to this question real quick from John. He asked a very good question. If Connor will answer this, I would like to know his evaluation on why the running game via the running backs has been struggling to get going here. Because we all know that Jake was the leading rusher against Wyoming for you guys. Is it just simply due to the fact that you've had 3 of potentially your top 4 running backs on the shelf?
I mean, obviously, you can't say that that's not part of it. But I felt like for the most part, I think we saw flashes of what it could be there in the fourth quarter, with Sione and with Pokai. When we were just getting downhill runs and handing the ball off to them, they were going for 4, 5, 6 yards, 7 yards.
Yeah.
And I felt like they ran well for the most part because those guys are learning too. This is the first time they've ever played college football. And so I think obviously not having LJ and Hinckley plays a role in that. We got to do a better job, obviously up front, being more consistent in opening those holes and making sure that it's ready to go every time. Obviously, defenses are talented too, right? And they have good coaches too. And so sometimes they call the perfect blitz for one of our run plays, and it's like, you know what, that's going to go for 1 yard maybe.
Okay.
So, but I think we just have to do a better job of being more consistent on the plays where we're not schemed up like that. Or it's like, okay, we're getting base defense right here. Win your block, win your combos, win your one-on-ones. Get the ball going downhill a little bit. And I think we've shown flashes of what it could be. That just needs to be more consistent for us. And that's a big thing that we're that we're addressing this week.
All right, I'm going to hold this up as we talk about Kansas State, just for fans on YouTube. If I can get that right in there, it's that drop shadow logo for BYU wearing. It's man, if I can get it right there, we go. There's the drop shadow Y. You guys are wearing those uniforms this weekend as Kansas State comes to town, throwing it back to 1996 when BYU beat K-State in that famed Cotton Bowl. How excited are you to wear those throwback uniforms?
We're excited, man. I remember when Josh, our equipment manager, showed us the idea almost a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, I don't know if it was that long ago. Maybe it probably was, because you have to get the orders pretty in early, or get the orders in pretty early to Nike. And so he was like, hey, here's something we're thinking about doing for next year, throwing it back, and it was really cool seeing the design. So like, it's been a long time of like, okay, like I saw the designs, the jerseys finally came in, got to try it on a couple months ago for the first time. And, and now we get to go out and wear them. So it's pretty exciting. I'm pretty pumped.
How excited are you guys to have Big 12 play here and have a program the caliber of Kansas State coming into LaVell Edwards Stadium on Saturday?
It's awesome. It's awesome. Some of the best games of my career and the funnest, best memories that I have are, of playing other Power 4 teams under the lights at LaVell. Like that was Utah. That was Arizona State. My freshman year, that was my second and third starts of my career. Okay. And those are huge games. Virginia,
yeah.
The 66-49 game, that was under the lights at LaVell. And so, there's so many great memories. And so, I think as the years come on, go on, it's gonna, become a staple in the Big 12. Those big games at BYU under the lights, I think they're going to become a big part of the Big 12 experience for all these other teams. And it's fun to be a part of it, man. Being in the Big 12 has been awesome.
I'm going to let Danny ask this question because I was going to ask it the similar one. He says, I am curious what Connor thinks will be the biggest challenge this week against Kansas State.
Obviously they run a different style defense.
Mm-hmm.
They run that 3-3-5 U defense. Mm-hmm. But they're unique in the way they run it, in the sense is that they're not in U defense all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know I guess I should probably explain what that means.
Yes.
So U defense is a 3-3-5 defense where they leave 3 safeties on the field, mm-hmm. but 2 of them are playing like true safeties. And then one of them is called the U player, who kind of hangs out more in the middle of the field and just kind of has a fine ball, get ball mm-hmm. responsibility. So it's interesting. They're playing normal shell defense with 10 guys. And then this 11th guy is kind of like a free roamer who can just fly to the football. Mm-hmm. And the first time we faced it was Iowa State last year, and Iowa State runs true U. They're in U defense like all the time. Mm-hmm. And Kansas State's a little different, where they'll flip in and out of it, where sometimes they're just running 3-3 mm-hmm. And variations of cover 2 and cover 3, and sometimes they're in true U defense where that U player will be roaming the middle of the field. And so I think just recognizing the looks is something that's a little bit challenging, because when they're in that U defense, that guy becomes someone who we may have to account for in the run game. because he's going to, even though he's at 12, 15 yards, he's going to be at the line of scrimmage in a split second, right? Because he doesn't have any other responsibility other than go get the football.
If you're old enough to remember, Brian Urlacher played that position for Bronco Mendenhall at New Mexico and was just an absolute terror because he literally was like you said, see ball, find ball, make plays.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
All right, Connor, I've got some good questions here. I'm excited to get these in, but momentarily, we'll get to those momentarily. Last thing for me is Kansas State, nationally ranked, coming in here. Do you think it's an advantage, the fact that you guys are playing at 8:30 Mountain Time, which will be a 9:30 body clock game for the Wildcats?
I don't know. I think the atmosphere is definitely more of an advantage than the time.
Okay.
But maybe that's just because I'm kind of a night owl myself, and so it's like I'm not staying up late is not something I have any trouble with.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure Kansas State, will. I mean, they're a Power 4 program. I'm sure they're going to adjust their sleep schedules and have their sports science guys all over it and doing that stuff. So, but I mean, I'm sure it'll probably be an advantage because by the end of the game, that's 1 or 2 a.m. For those guys, that's not typically when they're used to playing football. And so maybe at the end a little bit of an advantage, but I feel like just the atmosphere of the fans, the rock, the lights, all that stuff is more an advantage than the time probably.
I'm just waiting for certain fan bases locally when you guys inevitably play close to midnight. Well, the Cougars are going to have to quit this game because they're playing. Okay, let's just get over that and move along.
I know. Double overtime, Baylor. God was with us then. We won that game on a Sunday.
Yes, you did. All right. We will finish up this edition with Connor Pay with your guys' questions. We'll get to that momentarily as Locked On Cougars rolls on in just a moment. Today's show is brought to you by our friends, a new friend over at Roy. Now, this is not Roy, whoever happen to with by the name of Roy, or it's not Roy High School. It is Roy. It stands for Return on You, and it's a brand new platform that lets you, the fans, get involved in NIL activities like never before by making contributions directly to your favorite athletes. In this case, you could help a Connor Pay. It'd be something you guys could do. The best part about Roy is it helps you directly impact the bottom line for these athletes. You can retain talent, keep your favorite athletes out of the transfer portal, and help shape the future rosters of your favorite program. Of course, as you all know, NIL has changed the game for athletes. Roy is changing the NIL game for you as a fan. Roy allows fans to directly back their favorite college football athletes. With Roy, fans can play a key role in shaping the future of their favorite teams while helping athletes maximize their name, image, and likeness, aka NIL potential. The best part is all of your contributions are securely held and are only distributed if the athlete makes the decision that aligns with the fan support. If not, money is returned directly to you who contributed. It's an incredible feature, my friends. You can download the Roy app today. It's for iOS and Android, and enter the referral code Locked On, and you'll be automatically entered in a sweepstakes of $5,000 straight cash. So, straight cash, homie. It's a big opportunity for you guys. So visit joinroy.com for additional details. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Download the Roy app today on iOS or Android and start making an impact on your favorite team. And once again, use that promo code Locked On for an opportunity to win $5,000 in cold hard cash. Of course, have some fun today and support the players and change the game with Roy. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first view or listen of the day. If you have not done so already, sign up for our Locked On Cougars Insider Group. It's a great way to interact with myself, but more importantly, when I ask questions to guys like Connor Pay on the podcast, we reserve that right for our Locked On Cougars Insider Group. Hit the link below and join us today. All right, final stanza this week with Connor Pay here on the podcast. And Connor, first question, it's a little bit of a controversial one, but it's a great one from Taylor all the same. Connor, how is the team dealing and tuning out the criticism of Jake Retzlaff amongst the BYU fan base online, etc.?
Well, I think it's pretty easy, honestly. It's pretty much just don't look at it. It's
don't consume it, right?
That's the easiest way to do it is, obviously you can't avoid all of it, but I think at the end of the day, he's put us in positions to win these 3 games so far. And statistically, honestly, has played very well, and so I think for us, it's kind of, we know what his responsibilities are. We know what he's supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
And so we have a little bit of a different perspective, I guess, on how he's doing. And so, I think I'm pretty sure Kalani talked about this in his press conference a little bit too. Like the quarterback at BYU is always going to be either the most praised or the most criticized person on our team. That's just always going to be the case. That comes with playing quarterback at BYU. And I think the only thing I'd say is, like, sometimes does Jake make mistakes? Sure. But does he make some pretty amazing plays that very few other quarterbacks in America could make? Also true, and so it's, and I think people also need to remember that the dude has started 7 games in his career. It's not like we're criticizing a 3-year starter right now. Like, it's like, in terms of starts, Jake is a young player, and so from my vantage point, he's done a heck of a job so far this season with handling the expectations that have been put on him by, the team, the coaches, us, and the fan base too. That's all part of it, and just the pressure, that comes with playing quarterback at BYU. Kind of like I mentioned, I think he's handled that masterfully with everything, going on around him, and he's just keeping his head down, working hard, grinding as much as he can to play his best and put us in a position to win. And he's done that so far, and so, I feel privileged that I get to play with him.
All right, good question here from Scott, because he's manifesting you guys winning on Saturday night by asking this question. For Connor, what do you like to do to celebrate after a big home win?
Ooh. Well, that definitely depends on what time.
Okay.
Like 8:30 kick time, I'm driving straight home and getting in my bed. You know what I mean?
You said you're a night owl. Well, come on, Denny's is open at that point, right?
That's true. I don't know. Yeah, that is very true. I'll get food somewhere, either with friends or family after the game, teammates. There's always victory swatchos at Bam Bam's barbecue. That's always an option. And I don't know, when it's a little earlier, we'll usually try to get together or something as players or as family, stuff like that. But honestly, if I'm being totally honest with you, it's usually get food, go home, and lay down, because I feel like I just got hit by a truck. I don't. I'm probably not the funnest person to be around after the game. I'm pretty boring. Like, oh gosh, I don't want to move. I don't want to do much.
There's been studies out there done that essentially you guys go through the equivalent of a car crash every game you play in football at the levels you guys play at. So I don't think it's a wrong comparison there. All right.
Feels that way.
I'm sure it does. There's no doubt about that. Let's see a couple of things here. I've got a couple of people, and this comes from both Tanya Harrison as well as Michael Valentine. Said, essentially, this is not a question, but would you thank Connor for his Deep Blue on BYU TV? It was inspiring, both of them. So just, a bit of a kudos to you there.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, it's amazing what that Deep Blue staff, those creators can do, because they can take such a crappy interview as mine and story and turn it into something pretty awesome. So I'm really grateful to them for doing that.
All right. This one relates church-wise. This comes from Spencer. Connor, what is your favorite youth conference memory? He says, for example, he says, mine is my favorite when me and my buddies tied our bed sheets together and rappelled 3 stories to avoid our chaperones.
Youth conference.
Yeah. Throwing it back, man.
Did I even go to youth conference?
Well, I was going to say, the level of football and all the sports you played basketball, baseball, and football, if I'm not mistaken, all varsity sports.
I'm trying to remember if I even attended one.
Oh,
I think there might have been one where we went to Aspen Grove together, and we did a ton of like snow stuff, snowmobiling, sledding, all that stuff. I have pretty vivid memory of that being a blast. But I was young. I was probably 11 or 12 when we did that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, that may have most youth conferences probably, if you watch the Deep Blue, probably came during that phase where I was not really down.
Okay.
So
Fair
I
enough.
probably found a way to get out of that. But tons of super fond memories from mutual youth activities, scouts, all that stuff. But I don't know if I can remember outside of Aspen Grove any specific ones from youth conference specifically.
All right. This is a really fun one, I think, from Robert. It says this, Connor, my wife wants to know what shampoo and conditioner you use to get those amazing locks flowing out of that helmet. It looks awesome, and I am super jealous.
Well, I just recently learned that I'm supposed to use conditioner with long hair.
Okay.
So I'm going to need to go buy some. I don't use it. So probably need to start doing that. I've never had my hair this long before. And so I don't know how to take care of it. And, but no, I use Dove shampoo.
Okay.
Just I don't even know what it's called, just the generic one. Because because I think I don't even know what it does for my hair. I just think it smells the best.
We're simple beings.
I actually have some right here. Let's see. And then I use whatever this stuff is. My sister told me to get it.
Herbal Essences Mousse. There you go.
Mousse. When I'm trying to get fancy or something and maybe curl it up even more, I'll put mousse in it. This is curl boosting.
All right.
But yeah, I don't know. Trev kind of gives me some advice on it too, because Trev had super long hair in high school. It was super curly.
Okay. There you
go. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm an amateur when it comes to long hair, but you know, I keep every single game I go up to President Reese and I said, hey man, I'm waiting on you. I'm waiting on you if you want to trim. But no, I do. Well, I also learned with long hair that this actually is good for like honor code stuff. It's like you're supposed to like trim it every once in a while so it keeps growing out properly. So I keep it trimmed, make sure I shave my sideburns down and all my neck and stuff, and then I'll trim up my hair every once in a while. So I don't know, but very, very amateur here when it comes to long hair stuff. So feel free to comment on this video or something and tell me what I'm supposed to do, because I don't know.
Well, we will be sure to pass along any advice being passed along. There's no doubt about that. One guy that by the way, this is just an aside as we wrap up here, that I'm excited to see his hair grow back out because he had an incredible mane during his high school days, is Parker Kingston.
Kingston, yeah, he did.
He
really did.
At Roy.
It's starting to grow out a little bit.
I noticed,
but like with these new honor code rules, none of us really know where the line is.
Yeah.
And so we're all just going to kind of like, I'm just growing it out. And I'm like, I just tell President Reese before the games, I'm like, dude, like it just says to keep it trimmed and keep it clean. And like in my mind, I'm trimming it. I make it look good every day. And so like, I'm doing what it's asking. And so I'm like, President Reese, you're the one that's going to tell me like when enough is enough. And so far I haven't hit the line. So we're trying to figure out where it's at.
I'm glad the rules are what they are today, because there's a guy that I know that you know well that I have it on very good authority that he was told about 20 minutes before a kickoff of a game he had to go shave at one point. And we're talking not even 10 years ago this happened. So I'm glad the rules are what they are now.
Well, hold on now. Beards haven't changed.
I'm aware, but it was like he barely had like any stubble. He didn't have the beard that I have.
Okay. So like this.
Yeah, like what you got rolling right now.
Like this is 2 days.
Yeah, he was told he had to go shave that before a game, like 20 minutes before kickoff. Like we're talking in the middle of warmups, and I'm like,
yeah, no. Thankfully they let me have stuff like this, because if I clean shave the day of the game or the day before, my chin strap will irritate the crap out of my skin.
Well, isn't that a reason to get a beard card? Come on, now.
I don't know. We've been over this. I'm white. They're not going to give me one. I think, but like 1 or 2 days, they're okay with this, you know, as long as I shave it after the game, and you know, so I'm grateful they let me do that, so it's not as uncomfortable.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Connor, best of luck this week against Kansas State. Well, hopefully, you guys are 4-0 next week, and thanks again as always for joining the podcast.
Of course.
All right, that's Connor Pay. I'm Jake Hatch. A big thank you as always for your support of the show. Thank you for making it your first view or listen of the day, and obviously a big thank you to all of you who like to call everydayers right here on the Locked On Cougars podcast.